One of the sessions that I did in Alaska was on compassion fatigue. And I really had to laugh because one of the aspects of compassion fatigue is misery loves company. That people suffering from compassion fatigue, that is secondary trauma, really love to complain to each other a lot. And they create a kind of tertiary trauma. So there's the original trauma, then there's the secondary trauma, which is, those who bear witness to suffering in the world and try to help facilitate. And then there's a tertiary trauma, and that is when gratitude is absent, gratefulness is absent. When the air of complaint and misery is shared and infected and is a virus in a community. And as Brother David over the years has brought gratefulness to our community as a theme and into my life at least as a practice, something to be deeply aware of. One of the things that I have been aware of is our liturgy in Zen. What we do in our morning service is a long expression of gratefulness. We express gratitude to our ancestors, to the Buddha, to the teachings, to the bodhisattvas, to the local ancestors, to the world that we live in. And that's how we end our Zazen practice. Jisen, who is our chant leader, chants all this thank you, thank you, thank you, grateful, grateful, grateful. And yet it's so interesting how often, we can walk out of something that we have forgotten to pay attention to in our churches and in our community halls and our zendos, which is a profound expression of gratitude and gratefulness for this life, for the health that we have. I remember our mutual friend Paul Haller, one day, he and I were leading a sesshin together, and he said he was walking down the road and he thought about his brother who only had one leg. And he was so grateful that he had two. Do you remember that talk? And then I was thinking about the people who have been in pain that I've sat with. When I'm not in pain, I don't even remember to be grateful. How much we take for granted in our lives. And how we actually add to our fatigue through our unhappiness, through our ungratefulness. So Brother David did this miraculous thing some years ago, which was to establish a community of gratefulness, realizing that we need to support each other in behaviors and thoughts and in wonderful ceremonies that bring gratitude forward in our communities. And so he's here tonight and he's here over the next few days with members of the close community to share some of what we have learned over the years about gratefulness. And to know that most of you who are engaged in bearing witness to suffering can back away from compassion fatigue by the practice of gratefulness, by doing what Maizumi Roshi said so often, which was to deeply appreciate your life, to be grateful for this life, and to really see if you can move past, like the good bodhisattvas that you and I are, the deep air of complaint, so that we can complain genuinely about the injustice in the world and actually nourish, if you will, our nerve endings and our heart well with an attitude that is fundamentally generous. So I'm so grateful that you're here. And let me just switch the technology.
Oh, I see.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm always so impressed when I hear you talk. You are so eloquent. Isn't she eloquent? It's so beautiful to listen. Well, and you mentioned a key word that we had not discussed before, and that is complaining. So I would like to say a little more about complaining later on. But since you asked me to speak about gratefulness, I will start with gratefulness. And I will stress what you said, and that gratefulness is really a practice. It's so simple and so common, so universal really, to be grateful, that we think, well, that can't be a practice like Zen or yoga or something like that. But when you look carefully and when you make it your practice, it can be really on the same level as these great traditional practices. And in a sense, it is a traditional practice. If you just think of your mother, of your grandmother, maybe you even knew your great-grandmother, as I was lucky to know 2 of them, they were grateful people and they taught you gratefulness. So it comes to us in a less formal setting, but it is really a tradition. It's a traditional practice that comes to us. And it has many advantages. Its naturalness, its simplicity is a great advantage. If you just think of all the pain that you have to go through when you do, say, hatha yoga, and you pretzel yourself there. and being grateful is a lot easier. And then it takes so long, you know. Every other practice takes so long, and gratefulness doesn't take very long at all. If you make up your mind, okay, from now on it'll be my practice, and you start right now, this very evening, it will have made you a lot more joyful. You can check it. You find that it does something for you quite immediately. So I would like to look with you at what is essential for gratefulness. Because if you look at it, what's essential, you will find that this is the same that's essential in Zen and in yoga and in any Christian practice or any other practice. The essence of being grateful, and obviously we are not just talking about saying thank you, we are talking about that in a gesture, that in an attitude from which saying thank you springs when it is genuine. And that gratefulness, the essence of it is accepting what is. Accepting what is. And that, of course, implies being in the now. Because what is always now. As T.S. Eliot says so beautifully in the 4 quartets, all is always now. Mm-hmm. Now that seems like obvious, but it's very important to remind ourselves that all is always now. If it isn't now, it is not. It was or will be, but it is not. Whatever is now.